Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for the Optc video, and in today's video, it is that time of the month again. End of October is upon us, and we have our Sugo tier list. In today's video, we're taking all the legends in the game, putting them on a tier list for you guys, so that way you can get a better understanding of what the best characters in the game are, to help you guys clear as much content as possible. I do like to do an end player tier list after big events. Look forward to that probably after Super Boss. So if you're new to the channel and you want to see that, hit the big red subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any of the good stuff. Plus, if you enjoyed today's video, bell the like button as well. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below as well. But remember, this is just my personal opinion playing the game for 2,300 days, I believe my last login was. So take it with a grain of salt, but hopefully it helps you guys out with what characters you want to level up, what characters you want to prioritize in terms of using materials on, because in today's video, we are focusing across the board in the entire game. That goes from anything you'd find in the Recollective Archive, clashes, arenas, coliseums, anything like Blitz Battles, PKA, 10-star Kizuna, Super Boss Kizuna, PvP and Grand Party, Grand Voyage even, all game modes I'm taking into consideration, and hopefully it'll help you guys look at your box and sort of sift through, especially if you're a newer or a mid-game player. This tier list is sort of tailored towards you guys rather than endgame, and I'm taking stuff like power, usability, versatility, classes, and colors into consideration when ranking these characters. But I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's take a look at the tier list from last month, and it looks a little bit like this. Now, I did change it up a little bit. I wanted to sort of clean out some junk. I did make some mistakes here and there, but I tried to keep it exactly the same as what last month's tier list looked like. So, this is my top 5. Nami, I believe, is still the best legend in the game. Gear 5 6-star for newer players is a much better unit to have than the 6+. However, in my opinion, they are pretty much on par. Next, we've got this Rush Sanji, Super Sugo Fest exclusive. Fantastic character. And then Rush Kaido not far behind in 5th place. These characters are all fantastic. If you have them, make sure to max them out because they are very, very powerful. Next, we have God tier. These characters are pretty much just outside the top 5. You guys can put any of these characters in like your next 5 of your top 10 or anything like that. But there are some notable characters here. These characters at the start here being Luffy Yamato, Ace Yamato, Ace Sabo, Roger Whitebeard, the Straw Hat Crew V2, Utas, and Roger are all going to be very, very powerful characters to help you guys beat a lot of content. If you have the combination of these two Gear 5s, you can already do so much. But like stuff like Ace Yamato can get around Bind and Special Bind. Luffy Yamato can get around Bind. Ace Sabo can get around Despair and Special Bind. So this utility is just so damn nice. Roger Whitebeard, their swap is absolutely unparalleled. It's so much damage for new players. You can throw them on any team and it makes it better. The final type of Straw Hat Crew is still the best in the game, plus their captain ability, making everything work under them is so powerful. Paralysis and special reverse removal in Uta it's actually fantastic. Plus the versatility across the board for her classes. For newer players though, it's a bit hard to get access to that, especially with the Kizuna jail, but for you endgame players, like these characters are so valuable. Roger, you can pretty much pick him up for free. They have revamped the new player sort of summoning pool, but Roger is still fantastic. He's an incredible character and can help you clear a lot of content. As you go down to the bottom here, these characters all have different purposes within the game that make them very valuable. K-Dad have an insane final tap, plus they remove attack down in their captain, which is very, very valuable. Zoro is an incredible unit, has one of the best super tens in the game, gives a lot of damage output. He's more of an endgame player use, but like for new players, he can do so much with his rainbow damage if you can work out a way to get the 1 orbs. Verse Yamato is fantastic as well, removing Despair. This Big Mom and Blackbeard, I have them here because they just sort of represent the villains of this era. There's a lot of, and King, but there are a lot of heroes up here and a lot of like protagonists rather than antagonists. Blackbeard can just convert Despair into a buff, which is very, very valuable. Same with Momo, but Momo does EXP. Momo does Bind, Blackbeard does Despair. The two of them are just so good for what they do for their teams. Big Mom, she just gives like unparalleled damage besides Robin, but she's just way better than Robin. Much higher captain ability, very, very powerful special, and has a very, very good super EX for 2 classes, which is insane. King is basically untouchable as captain for new players running like a villain team. He is just so good as a unit. And then Cat Viper is this absolute speed demon. However, I am going to drop Cat Viper down into meta. I think Cat Viper is probably more of an endgame player use rather than what this sort of like new game player is actually trying to do. He's still fantastic, and if you have him as a new player, I would still max him out because he's going to help you in stuff like Grand Voyage. He's a great treasure map character. He's very good in PvP. He's definitely a character you want to be maxing, but for what he provides compared to these other characters like like, he's so close to still being there, but I do want to bring him down. In meta, these characters are pretty much just so close to being up here in God tier. I just sort of had to separate them a little bit. Luffy and Kaido, they're absolutely fantastic anniversary characters. V1 Yamato 6+ is still very, very good, but she's sort of based around damage. Luffy has way more versatility than what Kaido has, and I like him more for newer players. But for endgame players, like, and honestly, like, if you're willing to stall, Kaido just still does so much. The waifus are very, very good. As for Kid Law, he's pretty much just like a damage unit, very similar to what Robin does. Not in terms of the same special, but the two of them give you something that, like, no other character can give. The raising of Super Type, Kid Law are the only ones that can do that. Where Robin gives you that extra conditional like Big Mom. So these two units are just so good for just trying to get extra damage. Plus they have a lot of good support, your options and stuff like that. Zoro, he can do damage reduction and threshold. He's fantastic. Gives a lot of damage too if your captain has a Wano Orb. So if you run him underneath like something like Luffy Yamato, it's very easy to do. Law's incredible for new players. He can remove paralysis. He's great in Grand Voyage. Same with Rayleigh Gaban, getting around attack down, and then their swap being paralysis there are very, very good for new players. And then Queen, next to King, he basically can avoid everything with his captain action, but his special can give so much damage as a conditional boost to additional damage taken. Queen actually works exceptionally well under Luffy Yamato, funny enough. And then we have Dogstorm. Dogstorm I'm going to drop down to S tier captain. I'm going to put him back here because I want to have a conversation about all these units. But he's very similar to Cat Viper. I just think Cat Viper is probably a little more valuable. If you're going to level one of them up, I would level up Cat Viper before Dogstorm nowadays. Dogstorm does see just better use as a captain, but Cat Viper just sort of has more use. As for S tier captain, all of these units are just fantastic captains in their own right. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to have a conversation about some of them. I think X Drake has probably seen his time in the sun. This particular Uta is really only ever used in PvP. So I'm going to bring her down to PvP focus. So if you do have a spare copy of her, I would use her in PvP. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. This Jack, I think he works great next to King. So that way you get a super type and a super class. But with Big Mom now being a thing, like, you're not really using Jack anymore. And with Rush Kaido as a thing, I think Jack's probably only ever going to be used as a sub. As for Kid, I'm going to bring Kid up. S tier subs here, all these characters here, they're fantastic, but they're only ever really used as a sub. For newer players, I think Luffy definitely needs to come up. He can get around paralysis and attack down in his captain, and then his special... No, paralysis and bind, and then his special gets around despair and attack down. So much utility in one unit. Law is going to come down, I believe, now. Like, as a captain, his multipliers are low. Like, he needs a 6+ like this Luffy. He's definitely not as good. As for Bonnie, I'm going to leave Bonnie actually in S tier captain. I think Bonnie's still really, really good. But for Corazon and Law, I'm going to bring them all the way down here to A tier captain. I think they've definitely fallen off. They're a fun unit, but not a unit that you definitely need. As for X-Drake, look, X-Drake's on the verge. I'm going to leave him here for now, but look, he's on the verge of moving out. As for ST subs, all these characters are fantastic sub-units, but you're not using them for pretty much anything else. Toki, you could definitely make an argument for me for Toki to be a captain. She's probably the only one that I would put on the cusp. Maybe something like Odin for newer players is really, really good. But as for some other units, I think Sabo needs to come up into S tier captain with his auto trigger. Getting around Special Bind is so annoying for newer players, so I think that definitely needs to happen. As for some of these other units, I definitely want to bring them down. Corazon, I think he's, like, essential to have his level limit break nowadays. If you don't, he's not an S tier sub anymore. Still a fantastic unit. All of these characters, by the way, they all need, like, 10 copies to hit their max potential. They are pretty much all 6+s as well, all Super Evolutions. And they are basically the best Super Evolution level limit breaks in the game. As for the Reverie Girls, I think the Reverie Girls, look, I pulled them and I haven't even leveled them up. I don't even really know what their captain does, so I'm going to bring them right down into A tier sub. They're probably better than I'm giving them credit for, don't get me wrong, but I just haven't found an area where they're going to be good. As for Black Maria and Ulti, I'm going to move down to A tier captain. Honestly, I'm going to move them down to A tier sub. Again, another unit I've leveled up. I actually leveled them up for PvP, but like I haven't used them. Crocodile Doflamingo, I'm going to bring them down to A tier sub as well. They can do stuff with buffs, but like it's just It's just not something you want to chase and not something that you're going to really want to level up, especially if you're a mid-game player to end-game player. Like, you could see some more play on an end-game tier list just because it's just more damage, but, like, other than that, they don't really provide all that much. V1 Rayleigh. V1 Rayleigh is such a hard one because he's still so good as a sub. 7 turns of Bind and Despair removal is actually really good. Plus, his sailability makes him so valuable. As for everyone else, Perispero, I'm going to bring down to A tier captain. I think Perispero, like, on paper, Perispero seems amazing, but, like, I've just never really used him. As for everyone else, I'm pretty happy with everyone else. Robin Koala are actually really, really good. I do like Robin Koala a lot more than Blackberry and Ulti. I did bring Chopper up into S tier sub just because I think, like, you don't really need his level limit break for him to be an S tier sub, so that's definitely worth it. And as for everyone else is still very, very hunky-dory. Level limit breaks, all these characters are fine. I've definitely done some changes, so if you guys check out last month's tier list, you'll notice some changes there. Next, we have PvP focus. All these characters are basically only good in PvP, or you will really only use them in PvP, with the exception of probably something like Odin and Kid. Like, Akainu as well for newer players. This Akainu is definitely worth leveling up for newer players. But other than that, most of these other characters, you're pretty much going to level up for PvP purposes. Remember, in PvP, leveling up their stats, their sockets, their special level, their potential abilities, their limit break, all of that affects their PvP stats. Cotton Candy. So you do want to max them out if you are using them a lot in PvP. And these particular 3 here are 3 big ones that you're going to focus on. Tesoro is also a very, very good PvP character, but you're not really going to use him in like any other play. As for very versatile PvP characters and ones that you kind of want, this Uts is really good. Dofi's great as a versatile unit for newer players. 6+ Kuzan is fantastic. Wano Lore is like a must for newer players as well. And then obviously some of these other characters are fantastic in PvP. But if you guys want a much more in-depth dive into PvP, I do a tier list there as well. As we move down, we're going down to the sort of A tier captains now. I do want to sort of move K-Dad down to A tier sub. Not K-Dad, Kinemon Dedro. They're pretty much only used as an A tier sub nowadays. Reiju, look, I don't see anyone using Reiju, but look, I guess she has some potential. Lucci's going to come down to A tier sub because you're really only using him for his orb boost and his base stats. Killer, I'm going to bring Killer down here with Hawkins into B tier captain. I've never used Killer, ever. Like, I've never touched him. As for anyone else in this tier, Izo, I think, is another one that can probably be moved down. Look, he's a newer character, so I feel like he's probably on the cusp. Hina's probably more of an A tier sub nowadays. Locking orbs is nice, but like you don't really use that too much. As for ulti, I'm actually going to bring ulti up as much as I hate this unit. And then as for page 1 ulti, I'm going to bring them down to B tier sub just because like they don't see play anymore. Like their conditional boost is whatever, to be honest. 80 level limit break, all these characters are really cool. 80 subs, all these characters are very, very good. Sober Mask, like I really want to move up. His like damage potential is probably what keeps him so low. But, like, for newer players, like, this guy is still so good. Like, he has so much damage potential as an S tier sub, especially for newer players. Like I said, getting his special off so many times in stuff like Garb challenges and, like, forest runs and stuff, it's actually really, really valuable. And a character I actually use quite a lot. But, look, it is low damage. With Super Tender being a thing now, I'm going to bring him up. Like, I think he's worth it. I'm going to bring Blackbeard down to A tier captain as well. Not ever really using this guy anymore. He has a chain boundary, but look, the teams that you're using him on, like, yeah, he's kind of, look, he's definitely, he's still very good as a sub. Like, he's still a very, very good sub. You do have Jack now, though, so, like, yeah, look, I think he's probably an A tier sub now. No, we'll bring him to A tier captain because he's an attack booster with his super class. As everyone else, this Ace is a S tier level limit break. As a captain, he's just still good no matter what. But his level limit break just makes him even better. He's just fantastic. Like, special bind and special reverse removal in captains is just the best utility you can get. 80 level limit break, all these guys are really, really good. They're just not it. Unfortunately, Wipey, DeMarco, and Jumanji, they were 2 of the latest 6+ers, and like they did fall here. Sugar is really, really good, but like mainly used in PvP more than anything. Same with Bardo, Cavendish. They're more PvP focused, but look, at the end of the day, like, they do have regular kits as well. And they're not characters that I would sort of prioritize just for PvP. As for support, these characters here are just ones that I picked out of just, like, these characters you just solely use as supports. There's no real other reason to have them anywhere else. Every other character, I guess, has more of a use in play. But at the same time, like, Law's got a fantastic support. Brooke's got a fantastic support. And these types of characters I would level up too. Rage's got a fantastic support. As with BT captains, these guys can be used, but, like, it's not... They're not like a must level up. Like, if you got a lot of level up materials and you're struggling for content, and you see someone use, say, Kaido for a Gacha 10 star, you could level him up then. Or Law and Mihawk are actually a bit of an exception because they're very good for Grand Voyage. Same with this Zoro, actually. They're fantastic Grand Voyage units. This Brook as well, actually. But Grand Voyage is like a one-time completion thing, and really you want to only do this when you get them to like level 150 anyway. BT subs, they're kind of falling off a lot, and then BT level limit breaks, so there's all these characters that just were like, oh my god, look how good they were when they got level limit breaks, but now we're sort of just here with needing some love. But we move. So, going down here, this is what we have to look at today. I'm do my best to get through these units as quickly as possible, but I may gloss over some stuff. So like Uta, Fuji, Kizaru, I actually don't own. The 6+ of Tesoro and Zeph came for the film the film celebration. With Nami, Karina, Treasure Map unit, Iron, the Kizuna Legend, and then we have the anniversary exclusives of Shanks and Luffy, and then we also have a Katakuri Oven and Brulee unit that sort of just came out of nowhere. So, alright, so starting off with Uta. Uta's a free spirit shooter Psy character, and she's like one of many free spirit shooters we've got in a like very short period of time. She has the turn activation buff, which actually makes her quite valuable as a captain. She boosts free spirit, which makes her infinitely more valuable than any other unit in the game, because free spirit is just way better than any other class. But when she uses her turn progression buff, she reduces silence by 6 turns. And then in her captain, she can remove... So when you have like the turn progression buff as captain, you just remove special bind like every single time. So it's kind of nuts what she can do. Plus she becomes your captain as a sub for 5 turns, and she gets around despair. She doesn't have like the highest multipliers or anything like that, but honestly, like this character is really, really good. Like really, really good. I think most of the time you'll see her as a sub. But honestly, like she's so good. I'm gonna put her in meta. I think, especially for a newer player, like if you manage to pick up this unit, especially with a ticket, or if you like when her banner goes away and she like gets into the regular pool, having her on a free spirit team and just having her come into captain, getting around despair and special blind, it's really, really good. Plus her super type, I believe, is it super type or is it super class? Yeah, it's super type. Her super type removes the captain swap, so you can get out of there as well. Plus it removes special blind on herself. So if she swaps into captain, and then you get special binder and you haven't used her special, sorry, no, you would definitely do so. Say she's your captain, and you're not using the sort of captain swap mechanic, and you get special binder, and you're like, oh shit, you can just use her super type to just get around it, and then activate the turn progression buff. So she's very good, and obviously with the new Shanks that came out as well, like you can like partner these guys up really, really well. And then if you already have the turn progression buff, you get a chain boundary, so you can do some weird stuff with like dual Utas, and then like have the turn progression buff with say like the shooter Uta, the quick one, and then use this particular Uta. She kind of makes shooters like way better, but like Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo, in my opinion, are probably still going to see like a much better play for shooters, but the fact that she's free spirit kind of puts her up nice and high, like way higher for me. So very, very powerful unit. If you pulled her, be very happy because she's super good. As for Kizaru and Fuji though, this particular character is a little bit less desirable. However, they have a very interesting mechanic that no other character has. As a dual captain, they do give cooldowns, which is pretty cool. They do end of turn damage, which is kind of nice, and they're immune to blow away, which has definitely been something that's very annoying over the past sort of month because of this unit. But like versus Whitebeard sort of just showed how valuable he was because of that. As for their special, they do a tap timing bonus for slashers and shooters, which is kind of cool. But they also do a buff depending on the crit rate of slasher and shooter characters by 75%. So they can do up to 75% more damage. And the way that I read this is it's like a 1.75 times extra buff, whilst also increasing the crit by 30%. So this seems super, super interesting and something that I haven't really seen too much on. But basically, it's just going to be a unit that gives you so much more damage for your teams, provided that's the case. So this is kind of like a very like good damage unit. More of an end game kind of thing. And for newer players, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. I'm going to put him in AT sub for now, just because I haven't really seen how that buff works. But all in all, it's just a new buff that's going to give you more damage. And they have some pretty unique stuff with just avoiding stuff like blow away and doing end of turn damage for stuff like resilience. On to the first 6 plus, we're going to talk about Tesoro. Tesoro is very interesting because he's a PvP weapon. Like, he's just an absolute weapon in PvP. But in regular play, this 6 plus is actually pretty damn good. He gives 3 times belly and he gives cooldowns. If you have him at, what's it called? Like 6 plus, but not level limit break, you no longer need the one of every type. If you have one of every type, you get some extra buffs, especially if you've been level limit broken. He gives special reverse and special bind removal for 5 turns. But the team building that you need for that is actually so finicky. Having one of every class is definitely one of the hardest things to do. As for a PvP unit, he's arguably one of the best in the game. His 6-star is still incredible. Like, the 2 of these, like, if you have 2 of these units, I would highly recommend keeping a second copy and working on a second copy for, like, Grand Voyage. But just prioritize this one for now as a PvP unit, because this unit is insane. For newer players, though, he's going to be your best berry farm, but he's not one that I would really prioritize in terms of getting skulls if you did miss out, because this one is just still so good in PvP, and that's pretty much where you're going to use him 99.9% of the time. So, whilst he's fantastic, and he got a really, really big buff to his special being a 4.25 times chain lock as long as you hit 3 greats. He can give you the super orb lock, he gives G-orbs and rainbow orbs and all this fun stuff, and they added a super type as well, which is super interesting for a character like this that didn't actually have one. For Baccarat, Dice, and Tanaka on the team. Oh no, so it's the super special, you have to have one of all of the types. And then he can turn characters into super quick, and then he gives rainbow orbs and then, like, increases bait. Like, he got a really nice buff, but most of the time you're going to be using this guy in PvP, unless you need that special bind and special reverse removal. But in that point, like, you just run Ace, right? Like, Ace is just going to do it a little bit nicer. Next unit is Nami Karina. Nami Karina. What do we say about Nami Karina? This unit made me break my I will not summon without using a free card. They're so good in PvP. But the interesting thing about this unit, their Free Spirit Cerebral, is they have 2 different specials. The 2 different specials they have are so unique. I'm going to put them up here in God tier because they are just so valuable. Mainly because as a captain, they dupe drops. And I believe they double belly as well. So this is the character that you're going to be wanting to use most of the time, especially if you're a newer player. On top of that, though, if you run 2 of them, you get so much utility with their specials. Nami will remove... I can't remember which one's which. I believe Nami removes barriers by 2 turns, resilience, % damage reduction, and paralysis, where Karina gives cooldowns, removes threshold, increased defense up, attack down, and then Nami is an attack booster, Karina is an orb booster. You get damage reduction, you get threshold. Like, it's just crazy what you can do with this unit. Plus, the 90% damage reduction works amazingly for versus Yamato, and you can turn that into damage, which is just absolutely nuts. They are so freaking good, and for a newer player, running something like East Blue and using this character in Treasure Map every single time because they are a Treasure Map legend is going to be the go moving forward. No matter what, I will be using this character in Treasure Map. No matter what stage it's on, they're always going to be on one of my Treasure Map teams. The next character we had was Ein, a Kizuna Clash legend. Came out with Zeph 6+. These 2 characters work in tandem with each other. She's a shooter cerebral character. And she does just seem like a lot of fun. She's very reminiscent of her actual rare recruit. In the fact that she can give bind removal, damage reduction removal. If you have she applies damage reduction, which helps for Zeph. But she's also an orb boost for shooter and cerebrals by 2.75. As long as you have a full team of 6 that consists of shooters, you can get access to her super type, and then she'll extend the orb boost or color affinity. But the interesting thing about the unit is she makes bomb orbs matching. If the character has a bomb, super bomb, or tandem orb when you attack, she gives resistance as well. The downside is she doesn't make super bomb orbs matching. So if you get super bomb orbs, you pretty much need Zeph to make this work. To get her super type as well, you can use Zeph's tap timing bonus. That will also trigger it. She gives burn, which is super interesting. And if you have an additional damage buff for 3 or more turns when the special is activated, she'll inflict increased damage taken as well. So she can do a lot of stuff. She's just a real wonky ass unit. and one that kind of just isn't, like, super insane, to be honest. She does bring a nice buff to shooters, but look, at the end of the day, again, I'm still using Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo. Even, like, comparing to Izo, like, she's pretty much sort of on par with Izo. I like what they're trying to do with bombs and stuff like that, but, like, she's just not a desirable character and one that should be chasing. Very similar to Reiju, but I think she's a lot better than Reiju. Next, we have the 6+ of Zeph. This guy's a mouthful. He makes bomb and super bomb orbs deal 0 damage, so ideally you want to hybrid him up with Ein, and then you can just sort of make super bomb orbs with his new super class that they gave him for shooters. So with the two of them, you get a super class and a super type. He reduces cooldowns with that super class. He reduces damage taken by 60%, and then he makes the top and bottom row super bomb orbs, leaving room for tandem, which Ein can actually do. So his special got a nice buff. He's a 5.5 times captain, which is super interesting. He reduces damage, which is super nice. And his special is a 3-turn orb booster, which is pretty interesting. Plus, he can move defense up, damage reduction, bind and despair if you have % damage reduction. So if you have that, he can actually do some really, really cool stuff. The combination of him and Ein together, like, they're super, they're a really cool combo. But look, this guy really needs his level limit break to shine. Without his level limit break, he does sort of miss the mark quite a bit. Because he doesn't do any of the crazy % damage reduction, bind and despair removal, and all that other fun stuff. He's just basically an attack booster, a HP cutter, and his captain ability loses a lot of power with losing the extra 0.25. Plus, I believe he doesn't increase the duration of attack boosting buffs applied by specials either. So look, his captain honestly doesn't change all that much, but like his special definitely does if you don't have him level limit break 5. Moving on to the fun stuff now. We are at the anniversary characters. We have Super Tandem Shanks V2. We have another Gear 5 Luffy, which is absolutely insane. And then we have a Katakuri Oven and Brulee. We're going to start with my boy Shanks, a Psy Free Spirit Cerebral character. Again, more Free Spirit Psy support, which is just nuts. Literally, like, if we just quickly go to the top here before we go into Shanks, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Psy Free Spirits since Anniversary, which was Luffy Yamato's batch. So, like, that's just kind of absurd if you ask me. It's a lot of Psy Free Spirit support. But nevertheless, Shanks is a Psy Free Spirit. They missed the mark. They should have made him Strength. They should have flipped these two around, but I do understand why they didn't make this guy Psy, because we already have a Film Red Psy Luffy. But we've already got so many Psy Shanks that I really want a Strength Shanks, man. But we move. His captain reduces cooldowns by 2 turns at the start of the quest, which is so good. You know how I feel about cooldowns, especially 2 of them. And then he boosts attack of Cerebral, Free Spirit, Fighter, and Slasher characters. So a lot of classes, up to 5.5 with a matching orb, 5.25 otherwise. HP by 1.3, and then makes Dex, Recovery, and Tandem matching. He also does 10 turns of Special Reverse, which is super nice. Plus, if a Free Spirit or Cerebral character uses a Special, he gets 3 turns of cooldowns, and you can do this 8 times, 4 times in 1 turn, which then means you get his special back, because at Limit Break Expansion, he goes down to 12 turns, so really, really nice stuff. It's kind of like a pseudo double special. It helps in long content, and both Luffy and he both have this ability. As a sub, though, he's really good too. 1 turn of cooldown at the start of the fight. He makes 2 turns of cooldown for himself when Strength or Psy characters use their special, so if you are using this unit, you kind of really want to use him on a Psy Strength Free Spirit Cerebral team. Like, that's kind of the best way to use him. But he does have that Fighter and Slasher tag as well, but you kind of want that Fighter Slasher to be Psy or Strength if you are utilizing him under something like Luffy. So if you try and do the 2 of them together, you can do some really cool stuff, but it does take some big brain team building. He's super special. It's very annoying because you need 2 of the following. Any of the Film Red Redhead Pirates, Luffy, Katakuri, Kobe, and Uta. And then, like, when I say the Film Redhead Pirates, it's basically like Yasop, Lucky Roo, Ben Beckman, Rockstar, the ones we know. But then you have Lime Juice, Hongo, Howling Garbu, Building Snake, Bonk Punch, Monster. Like, these characters all need more representation in the game. Like, whilst they're getting rare recruits now, like, they just don't exist elsewhere, which makes it really hard to build these crazy teams with Shanks. All in all, as a captain, I do think he's very, very good. I don't know if I would say he's up in the echelons of, like, God tier. But for now, I definitely have him up here within the meta. He definitely can do some really, really good stuff for Psy Free Spirit because he's special is very interesting, and what he does with the chain is even more interesting. His super special gives the tap timing of 0.6 for cerebral and free spirit fighters and slashers. And then he rotates block orbs into tandem and recovery, which is so nice because tandem orbs are obviously going to work well for his super tandem. And then if you have an orb buff, he gives you another 1.5 times chain multiplicative growth. So very similar to what Zoro was doing, but now for Psi-Free Spirit. Unfortunately, it's not in the same special, but it's less restrictive. You just have to use this guy as a captain. And it's a bit of a downside that his super special was actually cerebral. So if his super EX or something like that was for free spirits or whatnot, it would make it a little bit nicer. But I like that when you hybrid him up with something like Gear 5, you now have access to everything just for Shanks. He also removes Despair on himself with his Super EX, but if you don't have an Orb buff, he's a 2.75 times Orb booster. He can also give you defense down reduction, so sets defense to 0 no matter what. He will remove the defense reduction too, which is very, very nice. He's a fantastic character. Like, he's absolutely amazing to own, especially for newer players that are struggling with the special reverse. And stuff like Despair as well, especially if you're running 2 of them, because you can just bink the double special activation. Sorry, the double, what's it called? The double Super EX. Plus, if you do build the team right, you can actually get all of this guy's benefits in one turn, which is nuts. And at Super Tandem level 5, he gives another 1.5 to the chain multiplicative. So if you start doing that kind of stuff, you've got like 2.25 chain multiplicative, and then he's adding the 0.6. So at this point, you're adding over 1.2. It's like, what is it? It's like 1.25, maybe a little bit higher, every single time a unit taps to the chain. Then you add a chain boundary into that. So the chain boundary, they set the chain boundary at 3. You're already starting over at like a 7 point something chain. And then you got ace shenanigans you can do, final taps of Uta, rush abilities of Gear 5. Shanks is really, really, really good. I don't think he's like in the echelons, like I said, of all some of these other characters up here. But look, I would say he's definitely at the top end of the meta. And definitely could make an argument for God tier if he wanted to. I don't want to seem biased and sort of put him straight up there, because there's just other characters that you should be focusing on. But he's an anniversary exclusive, and you can pick up other anniversary exclusives like these guys on his banner. So that's always nice. Speaking of anniversary exclusives, also he's a demon in PvP. Like, he's so good in PvP. Speaking of anniversary exclusives, we have the second Gear 5 Luffy, or the third if you count the 6+, I guess. Strength Fighter Powerhouse. Yes, you heard that right. We have a Luffy that's not a free spirit. Alert, we have a Luffy that's not a free spirit. I know, it's crazy. He also gets 2 turns of cooldown at the start of the fight, but he boosts the attack of Fighter, Powerhouse, Slasher, and free spirit characters up to 5.25 with a matching orb, 5.25 otherwise. Makes recovery and tandem orbs matching, and then heals recovery through perfects. He is 1.3 times HP, and then he removes paralysis by 10 turns. Now, normally that's kind of sucky, but like there's not a lot of strength characters that remove paralysis in their captain, so it's actually kind of nice. He then has the same ability whenever a powerhouse or fighter character uses a special, he gets 3 turns of cooldown. So this is very, very good. His special ignores debuff protection and inflicts increased damage by 1.5 for 2 turns. He changes all orbs into tandem, which doesn't go through block, which kind of sucks. And then he's at 2.75 times attack boost to fighter, powerhouse, slashers, and free spirit characters. So you can see the overlap being like fighter, powerhouse, slasher, free spirit. I don't think Shanks has powerhouse where he has cerebral. So like that's where that kind of crossover is. But if you already have an attack boost, he's going to increase it by 0.5, just like Shanks increases the orbs by 0.5, but then also gives you a chain boundary of 2.75 up to 35 times. So as you can see, like the combination of this Shanks and this Luffy together are doing so much with the chain. His super special makes fighters into super fighters, and then he needs all of the same units pretty much, but he needs the Straw Hats. So basically, it's like got Oven, Katakuri, Brule, Uta, Kobe, Sunny-kun, Law, and Shanks, and then has all of the Straw Hats, basically. So Luffy's super class is a lot easier to get than Shanks, but it also removes Despair. He makes recovery and tandem orbs 2.5 times or 2 turns, but it's just not as powerful as what Shanks is actually doing with his Super EX. If I'm completely honest, it's still very, very good. It's just not insane. I do think that Luffy's a little bit better than Shanks in regular play, just because he's an attack booster, but in terms of what he has access to in terms of like his classes that he is, not the classes that he boosts, it's a little bit weaker. But because he boosts free spirit, like you're just already looking at winning. So these two characters, they're fantastic, and I'm really eager to build some teams where the two of them are together. Just like Shanks, he has the same sailor abilities, cooldowns to himself when a Sire or Strength character uses a special, and then 1 turn of cooldown to start the fight. Ideally, when you are using these two units, you kind of want to be bringing a Strength Sire team to get the most out of them, and then having the class combinations of like Fighter Free Spirit, or Fighter Powerhouse Cerebral, or Powerhouse Free Spirit. Like those two combinations, so that way they're both getting the cooldowns, is going to be so freaking valuable. Once again, this guy is also a demon in PvP, like an absolute weapon in PvP. And I just think these two characters alongside each other, they're very equal in terms of what they're providing, and they're both very, very good. Luffy has a final tap, though, which basically just doubles damage from strength characters. He adds 1.0 to the final tap, just like what K-Dad's doing for slashes. Not as good as what Straw Hat Crew V2 is doing, because like they realized that Straw Hat Crew V2 was an absolute mistake with the final tap. But yeah, like these two are just, they're fantastic units. The combination of them obviously removes a lot, but Shanks has better hyper potentials, where Luffy is obviously going to suffer because his name's Luffy, where Shanks not so much. Finally, though, we had a Katakurian oven unit, and kind of Brulee as well, I guess. Brulee's in the art. I haven't tested it yet, but hopefully this means you can still use Brulee on the team, because if you can't use Brulee as a support on this unit, it's already a massive L. Cerebral Powerhouse, so like perfect for Luffy and Shanks. However, they're a Dex unit, and the idea of this is, I think, to use alongside Super Sugo Big Mom. They boost Strength, Dex, and Side characters cooldowns by 1 turn to start the fight. 5.75 when you use their special. 5.25 otherwise. And when you attack, you apply a burn and a decrease of defense by 100%, depending on how much damage you deal. Very similar to V1 Katakuri with his delay mechanic. 100,000 is a 20%, 500,000 is 50%, 1 million is a 100% chance, and 2 million is guaranteed through debuff protection. So you can apply a burn and a defense down no matter what, but then you have to take the damage from the next turn. So you want to be pretty spot on with that 2 million and not have too much going on otherwise. If your HP is above 61% when activated, you cut the crew's HP by 60%, and then gives you back your special max. So if you can do this multiple times, like it's going to be really, really good for you, because you will randomize non-matching orbs except for recovery tandem, which includes blocks, and then boost the attack against increased defense by 2.5. And then if you have any status attack boost when you use this special, you get a 1.5 times plus to the chain multiplier. And if you have a chain edition already, you get a base attack for all characters by 1250. I think the base attack's too low. I think the chain is way too low. This unit is just wonky, man. Like, this is a wonky ass unit. All in all, though, if you can make it work, you can do some stuff. You can definitely do some stuff with the burn and the defense down. You definitely can. It's just how that's going to look is going to be very interesting. They're a lot slower. They're not as fast. But they are going to take some pretty advanced team building, some pretty advanced tapping, and understanding the mechanics of the boss to actually be super effective. When you have any of the following characters being the Big Mom Pirates of Smoothie, Cracker, Perispero, Luffy, Shanks, or Kobe on the team, you do end of turn damage and reduce defense by 90%. And then you recover 30 times the recovery in HP, allowing overheal as well. So you can then just keep binking their special if you are using them as captain. I don't see myself using them as captain all that much, but I still think they are very, very good. I don't think they're worthy of an anniversary exclusive, and I definitely think they're at the back end of this S tier. I definitely think like some of these characters are just like way, way, way better. But in saying that at the same time, I do think they're a little bit better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. And I definitely can see what they're trying to do with the unit. In PvP, they suck, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And hopefully alongside Super Tan and Big Mom, this character will definitely shine. Because remember, Big Mom's a guaranteed conditional booster. And then you can actually use this character to get a second condition. Plus, it will trigger the second part. So the idea, right, next to Big Mom is Big Mom would give you the burn condition, apply the burn, and then you use this to then give you the reduced defense conditional and the chain boost, cut your HP, and then give the base stats after it, right? Because you'll have a status effect, but you can do 2 at this point. Plus, you'll then set the defense to 0 or 90%, so that way you can activate it. Won't go through immunity, but like you said, you can still do some stuff with it, right? that's something to note. So, very interesting character, nevertheless. And I'm keen to see what we can do with some team building as well. But all in all, this is going to be the tier list for the end of the month. Hopefully it helps you guys out, and hopefully it gives you guys a better understanding of what characters to level up and whatnot. Top 5, they remain the same. Couple of changes to God tier, obviously with the addition of Nami Karina being there is the big one. Shanks and Luffy, honestly, just outside of God tier for me. Like, they are definitely very, very good. You could probably make an argument to me that they're better than Blackbeard. I don't know if I would say they're better than King and what King's actually doing, but I can definitely see more use of the character than what King's doing. But the accessibility of King and Blackbeard just make them way more valuable. The meta characters, I would definitely level these guys up. And then as for the S tier below, you sort of just start working on these guys as you go. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to belt like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. Hit the bell notification, not miss out on any of the content, because there's so much going on right now. And there will be moving towards the back end of the year, with New Year's always being a crazy-ass time. Most importantly, though, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Later!